Welcome everyone to the second e-learning session of Let's Learn Programming in Python. Well, today we would learn how to accept input values in Python during execution of a program. So, let's compute. Okay, let us come to the point in a very straightforward manner. How to accept input values in Python during execution of a program. The answer is using the function input. Yes, this is the function that facilitates user input during the execution of a Python program. Input accepts the input value from the user and then evaluates the expression. Well, what is the meaning of this very phrase, evaluates the expression? Actually, Python automatically identifies whether the user has entered a string or a number or a list. Yes, these are the possible options, a string or a number or a list for a user while giving the input. If the entered input is not correct, then Python either raises a syntax error or an exception. Well, let us come to the syntax. First, we have the variable here in the left hand side of the equals to sign. In the right hand side of the equals to sign, we have input function. Now, within the parenthesis, we have a pair of quotation mark, and within that, we have to write a prompt message. What is the function of a prompt message? Whenever the user is going to input some value, he or she should have a clear concept about what he or she has to input. Okay, let us have an example. X is the variable that would point to the input value, equals to input within parenthesis, within a pair of quotation mark. The prompt message is enter the name of your favorite Python tutorial channel. Well, I guess the answer is very easy. And you'd obviously enter let's compute. So print x would display let's compute. Before using a function, we need to know the characteristics or features of that very function. Here the first point is whenever the function input gets executed, the flow of program would be stopped until and unless the user gives an input. Look at the example. W equals to input. The prompt message is enter a letter. Now the prompt message appears on the screen, and until and unless you enter your letter from the keyboard, the flow of program would remain stopped there. And once you give your input, the flow of program would go to the next statement. The second one is quite interesting. The prompt, that is the text or message displayed on the screen to ask the user to enter the input value, is optional. Yes, I repeat, it is purely optional. You may or may not put a prompt message within the function input. Let us have an example. X equals to input, no prompt message is written here. In the input terminal, you have to input the value without any prompt message. And now, whatever you have given is pointed by the variable x. Now you have written print x, so the output would be displayed like this. Come to the third one. Whatever we enter as input, the function input converts it into a string. Yes, this is correct. If we enter a numeric value, that is an integer or a float, the function input converts it into a string. Well, this is a serious concern because we cannot use those string values and perform a numeric operation. So what would be the remedy? We just need to explicitly convert those string values into a numeric value using typecasting. Well, no rocket science is there in typecasting. We just have to place the function input within the functions int or float like these. Well, now we are going to have a series of examples since examples make understanding crystal clear. WAP in Python that accepts the name of the user and display it. WAP stands for write a program. Come to the answer. We have chosen here a variable name. We could have chosen any other variable name also. The function input consists of the prompt message enter your name. Now come to the function print. You have learned about it in the previous e-learning session. It consists of two objects. The first one is a string within a pair of double quotation mark. And the second one is a variable consisting of a string value, I guess. And both of them are separated by a comma. Now come to the output terminal. The user would see the prompt message enter your name in the output terminal. He or she would enter his or her name as we have done ours. Now in the next line, the function print would display the output in this pattern. Okay, so let us execute it together. WAP in Python that accepts a couple of sentences from the user and display it. We have chosen a variable name line. You could choose any other also. Equals to input within a pair of quotation mark. We have entered a prompt message enter a couple of sentences. Now come to the function print. There are two objects. The first one is a string object. You have entered followed by a colon followed by a new line. Well, new line is an escape sequence, a non-graphic character sequence. It would display a new line. Okay. Now come to the output terminal. In front of the user, he or she would have this very message, enter a couple of sentences. He or she then would input any two or three sentences of his or her choice. We have entered these two sentences and the output would become this. Yes, the line you have entered is displayed in the next line due to this very new line character. Let us execute it. WAP in Python that accepts a letter, a digit or a special character from the user and display it. Come to the answer. L equals to input enter any letter. As for the prompt message, the user would enter a letter of his or her choice and it would be pointed by the variable L. D equals to input enter any digit. User would enter a digit of his or her choice like this and the digit would be pointed by the variable D. CH equals to input enter any special character. As for the prompt message, the user would input a special character of his or her choice and it would be pointed by the variable CH. Now the print statement would display the letter, the digit and the special character entered by the user like this. This is going to be pretty interesting. WAP in Python that accepts two numbers from the user and display their summation. X and Y are two variables that would accept two numbers from given by the user. Print the first number X and second number Y. It would display the numbers 75 and 25 like this because X and Y has been placed outside the quotation mark in the function print. It would display their values simply. Now sum equals to X plus Y. Print summation equals to sum. Well, summation shows here 7525, but it is supposed to show 100 only because 75 plus 25 becomes 100. So how is it possible? Well, you have to recapitulate the third characteristics of the function input. The function input always accepts all the input values in form of strings. Hence 75 and 25 has been accepted by the function input in form of strings. Now this very plus operator with two string operands in both of sides would act as concatenation operator. Hence 75 and 25 has been concatenated and 7525 is being displayed as a result. The solution is here, typecasting. We have to place the function input within the function int so that the string value accepted by the function input could be easily converted to its corresponding integer value and any numeric operation could be done easily. Look at the example. Here we have given 75 and 25. The function input has accepted 75 and 25 in form of strings. Look at here. Strings are enclosed always within double quotation marks. Hence these are accepted as strings. Now due to this very function int, this string value has been converted to its equivalent integer value. Now any kind of mathematical operation could be performed using these values. Hence the answer becomes 100 here. Well, typecasting could be in float also. Let us have a close look in this very example. WAP in Python that accepts two floating point numbers from the user and display their summation. Now what is a floating point number? Number consisting of fraction part after the decimal point is known as a floating point number. That is basically real numbers. Now x equals to float, input enter the first number, y equals to float, input enter the second number. Now you know the fact very well. Whenever you have entered 2.25 or 7.25 from the terminal, the function input accepts it as strings. Look at here, as strings. Strings are always placed within double quotation marks. Now due to the function float, the string value 2.25 and 7.25 has been converted to their equivalent float values. Now 2.25 and 7.25 are floating point numbers. Hence, we can perform any mathematical operation using these float values. Sum equals to x plus y. print summation equals to sum. The output has been displayed here. So that's it. The second e-learning session of learning Python is up to here. If you have any confusion in any topic discussed earlier, do let us know through comments as early as possible. We are very responsive. To learn any topic of Python with a lot of examples in an easier and very effective manner, do subscribe. Let's compute.